Moose and Keith with you on this Thursday. Welcome back here, Better Sports Network. It's been a while. It's been over a week. We're doing a show a week during the course of the summer and keeping you abreast of everything that's going on sports-wise. Good morning, Keith. How you doing, buddy?
So amazing. So happy to be back here with you. You're looking glorious. You're looking well rested and fit. I like it.
Yeah. How are you doing? Good?
I'm good. Yeah, no
Good, good,
complaints.
good.
Yeah,
We got
so
a lot
you,
to get into. We
yeah,
got a
what were
lot
you?
to, plenty
You
to
were
chat
over
about.
2 nights ago. Were you at City Field? Was that
I
last night?
was at City Field. Yes, yes. We'll get into a little bit of the Mets Yankees here in a little bit.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Mets Yankees. You looked way too happy in the picture. You and Nelson
Oh, I was
Figueroa.
having a good time.
It was a little bit of jealousy on my end. I've said this before when you do your Sunday shows with the other bald man on FAN. I don't even say his name anymore. With him, and then now you're with Figueroa. I'm just saying, just saying.
No, well, yeah, Figgy's a good guy as well.
I know.
You
I'm
know
busting
Nelson
chops.
a little bit,
I'm
no
busting
doubt about
chops,
it.
yes.
Of course, yeah. No, it was great. We had a great time. It was an absolute blast. It was fun. We were out there on Tuesday night, and there's clearly some baseball we're going to get into, but we got a lot. I mean, we've got John Impemba is going to join us. Dave Sharapan's going to join us a little bit later on in the program. We're going to talk a little catch up with him and talk to him out in Vegas after the Vegas Golden Knights are your Stanley Cup champs. Let's kick it off. And we got a big draft guide that's out for Fantasy Alarm. And it's the Fantasy Football Draft Guide. It's now available. Purchase for $26.99 or get it free with a monthly or annual All-Pro subscription to Fantasy Alarm. Start your free 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm All-Pro and get immediate free access to the draft guide. Go to fantasyalarm.com. We'll get into a little bit of that a little bit later on in the program. Good morning. You know I'm right. Good morning, Baby J. And to everyone that's in our chat session here on this Thursday, it's Moose and Keith with you right here on the Better Sports Network. Let's kick it off with the NBA because the finals were really a tour de force. Missed you as well, Baby J. A tour de force for the Denver Nuggets and for Nikola Jokic as they had their way, dominated Heat culture. Brought that to an end, and Jimmy Butler and Jimmy Buckets and everything that was going on down there in Miami. And listen, Miami had an unbelievable run, but it was just time for the Denver Nuggets. What amazes me is now it's, I think everybody can, shut their mouths about just how good of a player Nikola Jokic is, rightfully so, whether he has the MVP trophy or not. He is the best player in the NBA. He's the best basketball player in the world, does a lot of things really, really well, played, I thought, really well defensively at times in the NBA Finals as well. And we know how good of an offensive player he is. And now Nikola Jokic has cemented himself as one of the great big men in the history of the NBA. And his career is not done. And I've said this before where, people look at it and talk about, well, you can't really talk about the Denver Nuggets because it doesn't pull in ratings. Well, but let me ask you this. Were we really talking about the Golden State Warriors day in and day out until they had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson? The answer is no. I mean, we talked about them a long time ago, when when it was basically terrestrial radio and television, when they had, Chris Mullin, Mitch Richmond, and Tim Hardaway, and they had run TMC. But outside of that, we didn't spend a lot of time talking about the Golden State Warriors until they were great. And now the Denver Nuggets are great. And Keith, they're all coming back. That's the other thing. So if you grew tired of talking about the Denver Nuggets, well, I'll tell you this, they're not going anywhere. They are not going anywhere because that whole group is coming back. I mean, they've got to make a decision. I think Brown's got a decision to make coming off the bench, whether or not Bruce Brown wants to be back in Denver. And he had himself a tremendous clutch final game of that series. But Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, you get a sense of, for Mike Malone, that this is just the beginning of what could be an unbelievable run.
Top 4 players all locked in for at least the next 2 years. So Gordon and Porter are not going anywhere. Murray will get an extension at some point soon, and Jokic is locked in. So you're dealing with that top 4 there at minimum for the next 2 years, unless for some reason they wanted to shake things up. I don't understand why they would. Seems like they have something special going on there. A guy like Bruce Brown, listen, I like him, and I don't want this to sound cavalier, but he's replaceable. He is. Yeah. He's an energy guy that came up big in those moments. He's going to.
Well, but I find it, what I find funny about Bruce Brown, I mean to interrupt, is that, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving didn't want him in Brooklyn. And then he goes to Denver and helps the Denver Nuggets win an NBA championship.
Now, and that's the thing is, like, You think that Kevin Durant and
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving, both guys that have won at least one championship, right? Like Durant's got 2, Kyrie's got 1. You would think that they would understand what makes a championship team, right?
Yeah.
There has never been, and you can go down the annals and try to figure this out, but there's never been a championship team where you're like, man, they got 2 superstars and everyone else on their team stinks. No, it's not like that. Like the superstar thing is cool, but every championship team has had role players that have been crucial in certain games. I mean, Andre Iguodala was the MVP in one of the Warriors' runs. He will not go to the Hall of Fame.
No, he will not.
You know, Bruce Brown was great here. KCP, who was good this time around with the Denver Nuggets, was good in the bubble. Like we can go on and on and on with all these guys, right? So with that, yeah, but like Bruce Brown, is he replaceable? Sure. Would the Nuggets like to have him? I think they would. And I think if the money is right and the years can be right, I think they'll try to bring him back. I think I love the Denver Nuggets. And here's why I say that. The way they went about their business is so much like we haven't seen anything like this really since San Antonio. When's the last time? And tell me if you think I'm wrong on this one. When's the last time we saw an NBA championship team run through the playoffs where maybe there were people that thought they could win the championship, but no one seemingly cared if they did or they did not, unless they're a fan of that in particular team. And there was no big like hubbub about them. Like I understand that Michael Malone was doing the chip on the shoulder thing, but like besides that, this whole playoff run, what were the stories we talked about? The Lakers and Warriors, the Heat coming through the East and knocking off all these teams, the Celtics and their failures, the Memphis Grizzlies and their failure and Ja Morant off the court. And then there were the Denver Nuggets who just slowly dominated everybody they played.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. And for Denver, I think they shut a lot of people up for a while here. And my whole thing coming out of it is good for Jokic, good for Malone, good for Jamal Murray. And he was in tears after
and
the game.
Zeke Naji, by the way, I'm interrupting you there. Zeke Naji took a nice picture with my boys 5 years ago. I posted that on socials the other day too. What a nice kid he was, and I'm happy that he's an NBA champion. Sorry.
There you go. And Murray was upset and in tears and the long road back and missing 2 consecutive postseasons. But you saw him playing with a bad floor burn on his hand as well, left hand that he suffered. I think down in Miami in Game 3, and continued in that series. Listen. The NBA tried. I mean, they really did. I mean, I listen, every game's on the level. I'm talking about the officiating try, which was horrendous. I mean, they tried to extend this series as best as they could. I mean, even putting Jokic on the bench in the fourth quarter. I mean, they did all that they could to try and help out the Miami Heat. And it was just, listen, Denver was better. I mean, we all said it. They were an overwhelming favorite going into the series. They played really, really tight in Game 5. But when they needed to be, especially, early on in that game and then late in that game when they had like an 8-9 point lead, they played extremely tight late, but they found a way to win it. And good on the Denver Nuggets, but Jokic and company, they're not going anywhere. And they're going to be a team. And as long as they remain motivated, love the messaging from Mike Malone afterward, talking about family and saying that we're not done. Enjoy it for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Party, have fun, have a good time with it. Aaron Gordon's in the streets of Denver celebrating with fans. Like, it's just, you could feel it for, and I'm not a Denver Nugget fan. You are now. Like,
you are now.
Yeah. I mean, I do, but I didn't grow up a Denver Nugget fan. So it's not like I had that history of it, but for 47 years and to finally win that first NBA championship for a team that everybody wanted to talk about everybody else other than the Denver Nuggets, who were 10-1, even though they were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, where we got into silly and dopey debates about the quality of the player that Nikola Jokic is. Good on them during the regular season.
I'm also happy that you and I never got into that.
No. I mean, because we actually watch the games.
Yeah.
I mean, baby J. Wally Montero. I mean, the guys are, and we've all, everyone that's been with us, every single day when we were talking about the NBA, and talking about Jokic, we understood the brilliance of Nikola Jokic. And maybe you didn't want to sit back and watch a Denver Nugget basketball game. Well, you're going to watch now because they are that good.
Well, because you and I are also the weirdos that stay up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning watching West Coast games. I mean, partially it's for our job doing this show, and partially it's because we both have other jobs that force us to be awake at midnight, whatever it is. But we are, I would say, lucky enough to be able to stay awake and watch those games. A lot of people, if they have to wake up really early in the morning, they have, 4 a.m., wake ups and have to be on a job.
Yeah, but there were people,
o'clock.
I mean, Keith, but I'm not going to name names. There were actually people that cover the league that talk about the NBA, that get paid to talk about the NBA, that get paid to talk about a lot of different sports that weren't watching Denver Nugget basketball games, that didn't have an understanding. Listen, Joe and JQ Public, I mean, like if, you have to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, you can't stay up and watch a Denver Nugget game. I'm talking about the people, because there were guys and girls that men and women that watch NBA that are paid to talk about the NBA that had no idea what Nikola Jokic and how good this Denver Nugget team was. That's the people who need to go out there and take a lap. Take a lap. Multiple laps.
Yes,
multiple laps. Take a lap.
Yeah, like I do find that.
Like, it's astonishing. Let's be honest.
Astonishing is a really good word. Yes.
Like, it's astonishing. Like, it's like, what are you doing? Like, come on. Like, I understand. Like, that's the thing about, like, I get what plays, and we're all in a ratings business, and LeBron plays and all of that. But if your job is to kind of have a feel about what's going on around the rest of the league, then, the Denver Nuggets had to be something that you clearly had to take in. It can't be a surprise to you about how good Nikola Jokic is in the postseason when you start to watch him. Like, that can't be a surprise.
All right. So unless any of these analysts, right, actually thought Jokic was not this good, and all right, let's put that on the table. Let's say they really thought that Jokic was overrated and it wasn't going to work out. Fine. Okay. But that's wrong. Like, if your job is to cover the NBA day in and day out, night in and night out, and the narrative is always being pushed like Giannis is the next great player, we want to see more LeBron, and we want to see Curry and Durant. Let's say, like, if those are the narratives that are being pushed, why not actually expand the NBA and push the narrative of Nikola Jokic has won back-to-back MVPs. He might win a third. I'm saying as if we were going through the regular season now. He might win a third. He's got a healthy Jamal Murray. This is a Denver Nugget team we got to pay attention to. Guys, if you're watching the NBA, watch Jokic, watch Murray, watch the Nuggets. Hey, pay attention to those other teams. Why is that not a narrative?
It's lazy.
Good. Yeah, you're right. There it is. Boom.
I mean, because it's lazy.
Because it's very simple for us to just get on the airwaves. LeBron James has been in the league for 20 years. Look what he's doing with the Lakers. Right.
You talk about LeBron, you talk about Kevin Durant, you talk about Kyrie Irving, you talk about James Harden, you hit the treetops with everything.
Maybe a little Steph Curry,
throwing a little Steph Curry and where his placement is, throwing a Mount Rushmore conversation or top 5. I mean, who doesn't love a nice everyone's got Mount Rushmores. Mount Rushmore
should have been John Morant or Zion Williamson in the draft.
Right. There's nothing like the other day I walked into WPIX and we're doing that daily show, and my producers, or somebody in the back, one of the producers, like, why don't we do a Mount Rushmore of Yankees? I go, no Mount Rushmores. We're not doing Mount Rushmores. We're not.
I love that you stood your ground. Nope.
No, we're not doing Mount Rushmores. Nobody cares. Like,
what about a top 10 list? Do that, right?
No list. Anyway, so congrats on the Denver Nuggets, and how about Nikola Jokic when he's getting interviewed by Lisa Salters after the game, just like being true to himself. Like, and he doesn't play the game where how do you feel about winning the championship? Yeah, it's good. We got the job done. Now I can go home.
It's so crazy that, like, that's starting to rub. Have you seen that's rubbing people the wrong way? Like, he's not. I don't get it either. People are, but people just want to find reasons to be upset. People are upset that his nonchalant manner about winning the title. Okay, yeah. It's a grind. It's been 7-8 years of trying to do this. He got there. He wants to go back home to Serbia and see his family. Okay. I'm all right with that.
Maybe he's putting it into the proper perspective. Yeah. First off, he's not on social media, right? He's not active there. So it's not like he's going out there and telling everything about everyone. He seems to be a guy that likes to have his privacy. He also seems to be a guy that is not looking to constantly be into the limelight. He looks like a guy that basically this offseason wants to go work and disappear.
Yeah.
That's
Go into a cave in
wants to,
Serbia.
right,
Yeah.
Baby J wants to race his standard breds. He wants
Yes.
to, race his horses. I mean, that's what Nikola Jokic wants to go out there and do. God bless. That's great. I mean, good for him. But he has a little bit of balance in life. Like, people are like bothered by the fact that he's got some balance. Like, there's other things in his life that interest him. Wait, how can you be that great at basketball and not just be totally consumed by it? Not saying that he's not consumed to be great, because I don't think you can be as good as he is, or to where there's not a level where of importance for basketball. So they went out and proved everybody wrong, and now he wants to go and
If
enjoy
he
the
wants to
victors.
go, yeah,
Wants
2,
to go,
3, 4 weeks of nothingness. Go ahead, dude.
yeah, right. He's earned it. If
Yeah.
there's a guy in this league that has earned it, I think Nikola
Yeah.
Jokic has gone out there and earned it. So congrats to
Not
the Denver. Yeah.
not everyone is LeBron, Kobe, Tom Brady. All right? They're not. Not everyone spends millions of dollars on their health, their body, and playing every single minute of every single day. The fact that, like, Kobe he would look at the schedule and see workout is set for 6 a.m. He would show up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Jordan, even though Jordan was gambling a lot, Jordan would do things like that. The all-time greats, some of them do it. Most of them tell us they're doing it. Like, I'm a LeBron guy,
Yeah.
but LeBron wants us to know that he spends
he's-
$1 million on his body.
Yeah.
LeBron wants us to see him in the tonal commercials doing this with his shirt off, because he's 38, 39 years old and still looks like he's, 25. Jokic, on the other hand, I mean, Giannis, to an extent, has started to show us a little bit more, too, of his hand in wanting to be in the limelight, too. Jokic, at least at this minute, doesn't look like the guy that wants to, like, I truly believe he's working as hard as he can, because you're right. There's no way that you are the best of the best and just going about the motions. He's probably working like crazy in the offseason, behind the scenes. He doesn't care if we know. Good.
Well, right, and that doesn't. I think for everyone though, like, you need a freshening. So I don't think you can continue to just grind, even in the off season. Like, there's a time where you need to give your body a little bit of a break to be able to kind of
that's what Europe's going to be for me this summer.
That's exactly right.
I'm going to eat
so
much
you've
pasta.
got the NBA draft next Thursday.
Yes.
When do you think the Ja Morant announcement comes out?
Next Thursday is the draft, exactly a week from today. You got to go news dump Friday, don't you?
You think it comes out tomorrow?
Yeah, I feel like you got to go news dump Friday. We find out like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Is the parade is today
for Denver? Yes, and
so they're not going to do it.
Vegas is Saturday.
Well, yeah, I don't.
I'm just thinking like things in the public.
Right. So maybe Friday.
Yeah, I think Friday.
I would say Friday or Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're going to I think they're going to announce something before the NBA draft. You would agree?
Yeah. How about the fact that Ja Morant's people are starting to? Did you see this? They're claiming that it was a toy that he was holding.
Yes, I know.
And I don't think we were on the air since that happened. And the problem with that becomes that's almost more of a slap in the face to Adam Silver, because Adam Silver was apparently quoted as saying to Ja in that meeting, "You're treating guns like toys."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I think he gets half a season. 41 games.
Yeah, I think he gets more than that.
You do.
I do.
Yeah.
I think he might get like a 50 or 60 game suspension.
Wow. And really, it's because you're an idiot.
Yeah, it's just because you're idiotic. I think that. Man. Well, Keith, I think number one, a couple of things would lead me to believe that you don't piss off people that are in positions of power. That, and everyone, I've seen people talk about, well, it's not illegal. First off, I've said it perfect. Like, I don't know. I don't own a gun. Like, I don't know exactly what the gun laws. I know you can go into New York City with a gun unless you have a permit, and there's a specific one. We all know that from the Plaxico Burress scenario. But I'm not looking to own a gun at any point in my life. I don't know what the gun laws are. I really don't. I know you have to be responsible with it. So I've heard people say, well, you didn't necessarily break the law. Well, I got to be honest with you, it's also not everyone's God-given right, even if you're talented, to play in the NBA too.
Yeah.
So there's, just because a law necessarily wasn't broken doesn't mean that, okay, well, you're all good. Well, yeah, you could go play in the league, because the league is going out and they're trying to obviously make money and have a brand, and they want to protect that brand. We talk about all the time with the National Football League, protect the shield, and what Roger Goodell's going out there and trying to do, and player behavior off the field and away from the football field. Well, the same thing rings true in the NBA. It's not your God-given right to play in the association, even if you're talented enough to do so, even if you have all the ability that Ja Morant does. So, that puts all that argument aside, and I think he embarrassed some people in power.
Yeah,
I think you go out and you embarrass people in power. You throw yourself at the mercy. You do the interview. I think, what was it, on ESPN, where you talked about how much you learned. You stepped away from the game for a little bit, and what you learned is you realize you didn't learn all that much. So I think the pun. You might be right. Might be half a year. I think it's going to be even more than that. I think it's going to be a really, really stark message to Ja Morant, and they're working with the Players Association. So that would lead me to believe that it's going to be a pretty strong message.
Yeah, I've said this for years too, just to piggyback what you said there about it's not a right to play professional sports. And you could, I feel like it's too, everyone just thinks of professional sports and movies and entertainment, all that kind of stuff on a different level. That's fine. Let's do it this way. Moose, if Jody is a teacher, right?
Right.
So, and she drinks coffee. She's not like a crazy coffee drinker, but let's just do this. So if her new superintendent said, we're putting a new rule in that teachers are no longer allowed to drink coffee on the premises, right? The union would fight it. It would be a little bit of a debate, but let's say the union loses, okay? And all of the teachers now have to agree that they won't drink coffee on the grounds, right? Jody shows up drinking coffee. Principal comes over. Hey, Jody, you can't drink coffee on the grounds. Like, I know it's kind of a silly rule, but you just can't. Okay, no problem. I won't do it again. 2 days later, she comes in drinking coffee. You don't think at some point she's going to get reprimanded, even though it's the silliest rule? And I do that to try to make it like carrying a gun, whether you think it should be done or not, there are laws about it. And from what I understand, Ja Morant did not break any laws, okay? He was just being dumb and flippant with a gun and silly and not listening to his bosses. You have to listen to your bosses.
Yeah.
It would be like Matt Deutsch coming down and telling you and I, like, there's a certain sentence we're not allowed to say. And then every day you open the show and you go, insert sentence. At some point, Deutsch would be like, Mark, I'm sorry, I have to let you go. You can't do this.
So it's funny you mention that. So when we first started doing our show, like I used to say, we're the better sports network because we are. Right? Remember when I did that the first couple weeks, like just joking around?
Yeah.
Why are we better? Because we are. And Deutsch called me and was like, listen, we're just a startup. We haven't gotten there yet. We're going to get there. I just don't love that line and whatever we want to. So I was like, it's not like I was like, all right, Matt, I just stopped saying it. Like I was like, I was just joking around, having some fun, but I just stopped saying. The point being is like, yeah, you listen. If I kept on doing that, then I would have been reprimanded, whatever it might be. However, listen, they told him not to do it, and he did it anyway.
Yeah,
that's the point. Whether it's a toy gun, whether it's a real gun, I have no idea. I couldn't even tell you the difference from the quick flash. I couldn't tell you if that's a real gun or a toy gun. I mean, my question would be, why are you carrying around a toy gun? You're a 25, 26, 26-year-old man. You're walking around with a toy gun. I mean, that's what you're doing in a car. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's going to be strong. So I agree with you. I mean, it's going to come down before the NBA draft, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's Monday. I mean, that's going to come down. I think they're going to give it a little bit of breathing room to where then the NBA draftees and, Victor Wembanyama can have his night on Thursday night being this transformational superstar that he's now going to be for the San Antonio Spurs. So, yeah, it might be tomorrow. I mean, they might give Denver the day today championship parade. Silver being like, let's not do it today. Let's do it tomorrow. Or maybe we do it on Monday. Maybe tomorrow is the best way to go about doing it. But we're both in agreement it comes down before the NBA draft next Thursday night out there in Brooklyn. And we're going to talk about next besides, and we're going to get into Citi Field. And Keith has got a big vacation coming up in August as well, where he gets to do a little reset. He's going over to Italy. We'll get into that too. That's exactly right. Keith is coaching his AAU son's AAU basketball team
Bro, it
over the
was so much
weekend.
fun.
I mean, I know it was. I
Oh,
know.
it was so much.
We're
Such
going
an
to talk a little
experience.
fantasy football. John Impemba is going to join us. Want to remind everybody, Fantasy Alarm Football Draft Guide is out. Purchase for $26.99. Get it for free right now on a monthly or annual All-Pro subscription to Fantasy Alarm. Start your free 7-day trial at Fantasy Alarm All-Pro and get immediate free access to the draft guide. What do you need to do? Hop online. Go to fantasyalarm.com. John Impemba joins the program next. He's Keith Irizarry. I'm Mark Malusis. Back together on a Thursday right here on the Better Sports Network.
Patrick Kane, the longtime Chicago Blackhawk, who was traded from Chicago to the New York Rangers this year, set up for free agency. But news came yesterday that he has now had hip surgery at the age of 34, and he is going to be out for 4 to 6 months. Now, Kane is probably going to Toronto as a Hall of Famer. Not to Toronto as a Maple Leaf, but, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's got 3 Stanley Cup rings. He's one of the all-time greats in Chicago Blackhawk history. I was shocked when I looked at the free agency rankings this year going into the offseason, and Patrick Kane I saw a couple places where he was the number 1 free agent. I saw a few more where he was number 3 or number 4 or 5. I couldn't wrap my head around that. I am surprised, and maybe it speaks more to the available free agents, and I think that is part of the case. I mean, you've got, Bergeron's out there, Tarasenko, Ryan O'Reilly. To see a guy coming off the season he had, Patrick Kane had a bad season. Might have been his worst season. He had 57 points in 73 games. I was surprised to see that he would be sought after in this market. Now, he is a veteran. He is a respected dude. He's got the Stanley Cup rings, all of that, but paying $6-7 million a season for a 34-year-old, couldn't see it. And now with this hip surgery that was announced yesterday, who signs this guy? And I mean, Patrick Kane was dealing with a hip issue all year. Now, he played through it, give him credit. He chose to have the surgery. He probably knew that if a team even was interested in him, they'd look at the meds and they'd put him through a physical and say, this ain't going to happen. So he just decided to take care of it. Now, you play this out 4 to 6 months, you're talking anywhere between October and Christmas for Patrick Kane. So even if you sign the guy, you're going to have a guy nearing 35, and you're going to get him for a half season. So I will be following that market. I mean, is anybody giving him more than a $3 million base or $2 million base? Is anybody giving him more than a year? I mean, sure, there'll be incentives and options and all of that, but there's a guy that lost a lot of money, getting set for NHL free agency. Again, that opens on July 1st.
Mark Malusis, Keith Irizarry with you. It is Moose and Keith right here on the Better Sports Network. Let's welcome aboard right now. John Impemba joins us, and he is the Senior Manager of Content for Fantasy Alarm, host on Better Network and SiriusXM Fantasy, and also check him out, Fantasy Alarm too. John, good to see you, brother. How are you?
Hey guys, glad to finally make it on with you. I've always watching your shows in the morning. I'm doing pretty well. It's a big day here over at BSN and Fantasy Alarm with the launch of our draft guide. 2023 fantasy football season is here in full swing, man.
Yeah. So why CeeDee Lamb on the cover?
Listen, we're just looking for a breakout season. He's coming at the end of the first round of drafts right now, early second round. You're looking at the year he put together last year, 1,300 yards, and that was without Dak Prescott for a handful of games in that offense. So you get a healthier offense, a healthier quarterback, and we're really just looking for him to take that next step. And if you're looking for that breakout wide receiver at the end of the first round that maybe could compete with a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson this year as that number 1 guy, we think CeeDee Lamb could be that player this year.
All right, so tell everybody when you sign up and you get the draft guide, John, what are people taking in for $26.99?
Yeah, listen, you get pretty much everything that we're offering there on site if you sign up with our annual package. If you buy just the draft guide, you're getting all of our rankings. Howard Bender gives you his positional rankings. Andrew Cooper gives you his positional rankings. We have our top 200 overall rankings. Adam Ronis is going to be providing positional rankings. Jim Bowden is going to be providing positional rankings. So you have a whole wide net of rankings from top-tier analysts here in the draft guide that you can kind of craft and follow along yourself to build your own draft strategies. Along with that, we have top 10 fantasy sleepers, bust, and rookie articles. We have updated injury reports throughout the offseason. We have a lot of strategy articles for your league specifics. If you're playing in a guillotine league, if you're playing in a survivor league, this year, if you're starting up a dynasty league, we have a whole dynasty section available to everybody. We've dive into best ball a lot this year as well. So we have a lot of just general articles to help you guys, win your fantasy football leagues. And the best part about it this year, and the last couple of years as well, is we moved away from the magazine draft guide. We now do a living draft guide on site, so we're always updating. A guy that may get hurt in training camp, we can now adjust on the fly. If you're doing a hard magazine, if you're buying a hard copy magazine, that guy might still be up there in the rankings. There'll be a whole write-up of why you should be drafting this guy, and now that information is out of date. With Fantasy Line, we have the living draft guide on site, and we update that regularly with news stories as it comes out. So it's really the best thing you can have going into your drafts. We'll have the cheat sheet available as well, which will include an auction grid with values, a whole bunch of rankings there as well. So it's just kind of an all-in-one tool to help you guys with your fantasy football drafts.
I love it. All right, so let's continue to help people out there and see about the draft. So the draft guide. So with the guide, it being updated, let's say I'm entering a draft. It's now like middle of August. I'm getting ready for it, and I want to put my league settings in. Can I do something like that or no?
So we have League Sync for scoring, so you can go and create your own custom projections that we have on site by going into custom scoring and League Sync. So you go into our custom scoring tool, you fill out all of your league information, you hit the generate button, and there you have all of your projected fantasy points for players, and you can export that sheet, compare it into rankings, create your own rankings. That's 100% part of the tools that you get when you purchase our subscription.
And can I do that for auction as well? Can I put my salary cap in there?
We have auction values on the draft grid as part of the cheat sheet. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let me ask you about a couple players, John, first and foremost. Sure. What do you do here? What do you do with Saquon Barkley?
Listen, he's going at the end of the early second round, end of the first round, depending on how risky you want to get there. I like that they put that contract offer back on the table for him, and he should get a deal done. I think it would be silly for him to hold out. He's one of my favorite players to draft at that early second round position, because this year we've seen a large shift where a lot of people in drafts are going wide receiver heavy. In the past, you used to see the first 10, 12 picks pretty much all be running backs. It's not really the case anymore. So a lot of the top running backs are kind of falling into the middle to second half of the first round, early second round here. So you're getting a guy like Saquon Barkley, who could be the number one overall running back when he stays healthy in an offense with Brian Daboll that I think showed a lot of improvement last year. I like Saquon Barkley. I've taken him in drafts. I'm not too worried about the contract situation. The one thing I preach to those who ask, wait as long as possible to draft your fantasy football teams. Drafting now, there's just so much unanswered questions out there. You don't have the full picture of what's going on. So if you can wait and find out what Saquon's going to do, for another couple of weeks here, late August, probably better off. But as of now, I'm still willing to take the risk. I don't think he misses any games.
I'm with you, by the way, on the waiting on the drafts. I like to be as close to the season as possible. I know in this industry, we all do the off-season drafts, and they're fun content for us, but I'm with you. Because even, listen, a guy like Dalvin Cook, right? If you believe that he's going to be the starting running back for insert team, then you want him. If you think he's going to be somewhere rotational and you have no idea platooning, how would you handle a guy like Dalvin Cook?
I think where he's going, he's still pretty great value in drafts. I've seen some ADPs with him in that 6th, 7th round range because there was a lot of uncertainty coming into the year with maybe he was going to get released or traded. But now that he's been released, you have to feel like he's going to find the best opportunity for himself to be a featured running back. There's obviously those rumors of him being traded to Miami. Those are still being floated around that maybe he'll go there and sign to be part of that Mike McDaniel offense and that high scoring expected Miami Dolphins team. So I'm still fine taking a risk on Dalvin Cook if you're drafting today, because I don't think he's going to go somewhere and just be a backup that's going to get 30% of the carry share. So I'm fine with Dalvin Cook. I think there's bigger questions of people who are looking and drafting Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, because there really haven't been any indicators that teams are even really interested in them. It's more so you're hearing from those camps that they're looking for jobs. And that's something that still has to kind of play out.
Let me just follow. So now that Dalvin Cook is gone, what does Madison do fantasy-wise?
Yeah, listen, we've seen instances when Madison's filled in for an injured Dalvin Cook and been a productive RB1. I don't think he's going to be a guy that you can expect to be like, your quote unquote league winner. But where he's going in drafts right now, you're getting him in like the 4th round. That's as high as I've seen his ADP kind of rise of late following this Dalvin Cook news. He's a guy that can catch the football a little bit. He does run hard. So, you can kind of take what you've been getting out of Dalvin Cook, maybe slightly less. But they're high on him. There's a reason why they moved on from Dalvin Cook and gave Alexander Madison the job. So I think he settles in nicely as an RB2 on a lot of rosters.
All right. What about who are you fading? Yeah, I know, and I agree with you about there's, why draft teams now wait, right? Injuries. But is there somebody that you don't like their situation or anybody that right now you kind of earmark that you're going to stay away from draft wise?
Yeah, it all depends on where you're drafting, but in the first round, particularly, I haven't been taking any Tyreek Hill when I've had the opportunity to go there. I'm not really big on drafting guys what I feel like is their perceived ceiling. And the season that we got out of Tyreek Hill last year was fantastic, no doubt about it. But he's going among the top 5 picks. I've seen him go as high as 3 with 3 wide receivers right off the board, coming with Chase, Jefferson, Chase, and Tyreek Hill right after there. I'm just not getting there. I'd honestly rather wait around and take Jalen Waddle there because you're getting a little bit more of the draft equity there. So I just don't like where Tyreek Hill's going in the first round right now. So he's a guy that I've avoided when being on the board when he's been there.
Jefferson going number 1 ever draft you've seen?
Jefferson, yeah, unless people are looking to be a little different, you see Jamar Chase pop in there. You can still go running back. Christian McCaffrey is going first too. I've been a big Austin Eckler guy. I've been bold enough to take Austin Eckler within the top 5 picks if I've been in there. A guy that, for whatever reason, isn't getting a lot of love. He's going at the end of first rounds, early second round in drafts. And there's a narrative that because Kellen Moore is there, that they're going to change the way they use their running back system because of how Kellen Moore used the running backs in Dallas. But the difference is that the Chargers don't have an Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. They have an Austin Eckler and an Isaiah Spiller, right? It's not he's not going to utilize his backfield the same because he doesn't have the same talent, in my opinion. And you're looking at in a half PPR and PPR league, Austin Eckler being the RB1 and the RB2 the last 2 seasons. So why he is going later in drafts where he is, where guys like Bijan Robinson are going, again, first half of the first round, feels a little interesting to me. So I've been big on Austin Eckler, and I don't mind reaching for him if I'm in that middle round of the first round. I've been taking him. I took him as high as 3rd in a best ball draft already this year. So I'm just a big Austin Eckler fan.
John, how do you handle quarterbacks?
Man, quarterbacks are kind of my thing. I've been pretty good last year. I was very openly touting Jalen Hurts everywhere I could, draft him as much as you could where he was going in drafts. I loved that they went out and acquired A.J. Brown for him. So now I kind of look around the league and you're like, all right, what offenses are trying to make improvements for the quarterbacks and also what quarterbacks can help themselves out from the rushing standpoint there. So obviously Justin Fields is going among the top 5 quarterbacks off the board, but you're getting him, in rounds 4, Mahomes, Allen, and Jalen Hurts are going in round 2. So you're getting a little bit of leverage there because he has that elite rushing upside. And then you see they made a commitment. They traded for DJ Moore. I believe in Claypool getting an opportunity now, a full year in this system, learning that offense, not being thrown in there in the middle of a year on a bad football team. I think he's an extremely talented guy that can make a difference. They still have Darnell Mooney. So for me, I'm trying to grab as much Justin Fields as I can. I like Daniel Jones going later in drafts as well. And then if we're going CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott's a pretty good value here also. So I kind of like the wait a little bit, but I like my quarterbacks to have a little bit of rushing potential here. Otherwise, I'm kind of looking for Justin Fields in that range. Justin Herbert is also a really good value going in drafts right now, rounds 4 or 5.
I know we're bouncing around from position to position. I want to go back to running backs, though, with Kenneth Walker and Charbonneau now. Like, how should we navigate those waters in Seattle?
Yeah, it's frustrating, obviously, because everybody was all systems go with Kenneth Walker this year after a great rookie year, and then they go ahead and draft Charbonnet, and they're like, well, he's kind of a similar back. They can kind of split the workload. They use good draft capital on him, so you have to assume he's going to be involved. What that's done in turn, though, is actually kind of bumped the ADPs back on Kenneth Walker a little bit. So he's actually kind of relevant still. If he was where he was earlier before the draft, if you look at some of those early rankings, people were drafting him as an RB1, assuming that he was no real competition for that job. Now there is. His ADP is falling back. I'm fine taking him, again, as an RB2 because I do think they're going to share the workload. I do think he's an explosive player. And we've really seen the NFL go to this 2-back system now where you can have double productive running back. So I haven't really looked at Charbonnet as much, but Kenneth Walker, I'm fine in the right circumstance.
All right. Curious rookies wise, John. Who do you think? I'll throw out receivers. Who do you think the most impactful rookie receiver is?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Jordan Addison. Again, he's just going into an offense in Minnesota that was such a high volume passing attack. And while people may be worried about the fact that there is obviously Justin Jefferson as a wide receiver one, and TJ Hawkinson, who's one of my favorite tight ends, and Kirk Cousins really hit it off last year once he got into the offense. I feel a lot of that also had to do with the fact that Adam Thielen may have just been washed. And now you're getting this elite wide receiver put into this offense that's going to take that snap share that Adam Thielen had on that field and just be a legitimate threat in this passing attack here. So I think Jordan Addison's the number one wide receiver that I'm going ahead and draft. But I think Quentin Johnson is kind of interesting because the Chargers used a first-round pick on him. And you're looking at that offense, and it's like, all right, they have Mike Williams, they have Keenan Allen, but why are they using a first-round pick on a kid that has a very similar skill set to Mike Williams here? Some of the people think that could be insurance. Keenan Allen's had some injury problems. Williams have had some injury problems. They've kind of had to go to Josh Palmer a lot over those last 2 years, but I think where he's going in drafts, he could be a little bit of a sneaky rookie play because we love that Chargers offense. You don't use a first-round pick on a guy, I don't think, to sit unless you're the Patriots and N'Keal Harry. We'll talk about that another time. But, I think there's a lot of talent there with Quentin Johnson. So I do kind of like him as a late sleeper pick.
I've been on the record saying I'm not a big fan of Mac Jones. I say he's fine. Moose likes him a little bit more than me. With that, DeAndre Hopkins visiting New England. If Hopkins decides to sign with the Patriots, what does that do to that offense and some of the weapons?
I mean, obviously, it should, in theory, make that offense better. My issue is that last year was such a dumpster fire with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge calling plays, and it was very clear that the offense there was just out of sync. Mac Jones was very visibly frustrated a lot of the time. They caught him on the sidelines yelling a lot that he hated the way this offense was going. I think the Patriots have a pretty interesting skill set at wide receiver, even if they don't bring in DeAndre Hopkins. I do think Devontae Parker is a solid wide receiver. I think Tyquan Thornton has an interesting skill set, being the fastest 40 time in the draft. I know 40 times don't translate to playing time, but all the reports out of camp is that he's creating ridiculous separation. You bring in Bill O'Brien, he puts a real offense under Mac Jones, who looked good as a rookie under Josh McDaniels. And now maybe he can take that next step forward. And if you bring in a DeAndre Hopkins, who everybody will agree is the alpha wide receiver in that wide receiver room, to give him a little bit more leverage there, I do think that we could see an uptick in production out of that offense. Now, is Mac Jones going to be anything more than a QB2? Probably not. I don't think he's going to crack the top 12 here, but this is a big make it or break it year. Belichick and Hopkins are always kind of like, two schoolgirls giggling at each other whenever they see each other on camera. You had the whole NFL Films clip last year when they were in Arizona. Hopkins basically being like, "I'd love to play for you, Bill." And he's like, "I'd love to have you, man. Well, here's your opportunity." So as a Patriots fan, it would be great to see DeAndre Hopkins in New England. I still would like to see what the offense is going to look like. But again, all reports at our camp, it looks like a complete 180 flip here on what we saw last year when there was a lot of disorganization and people didn't really look like they knew what they were doing calling plays. Bill O'Brien came in, has installed an offense, and things are working right now.
What do you think about Rodgers and the Jets, fantasy impact wise? I mean, are you all in on Garrett Wilson? What do you think about Aaron? And where do you think he falls quarterback wise, fantasy football?
And be nice, because Ernie's our producer and he put it in our chat. Make sure that John is nice about Rodgers. So ready, set, go.
Yeah, listen, does Rodgers want to play? That's my biggest question. I understand that he has, he got the trade he asked for. He got out of Green Bay. He was unhappy where he is. But Rodgers, to me, just feels like a guy that is at the end of his career. And if things go south in New York, because this is a tough division, right? If they don't get out there and get off to a winning record, or he has some early struggles in New York, does he cash it in? Does he call it quits? Does he say, you know what? I've had a career. I'm going to go in the dark hole again and, take some whatever he's on, and just kind of space out here. But he's also Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back MVP winner, and a guy that I think has that sort of FU mentality to him as well, where he can go out there and be like, you know what, you guys think I'm done. You guys think I'm watch this. And I'm going to go out there and put up another MVP performance, be able to compete with Josh Allen in the AFC East. I like Garrett Wilson where he's going in drafts at the beginning of the second round there. I mean, again, a guy that put up great numbers as a rookie with Mike White and Zach Wilson throwing him the football. Is not going to have a Hall of Famer throwing him the football. I think that there's some nice potential upside there again. And I hate using the word upside so much, but if you just look at the body of work that Aaron Rodgers can bring to the table for a young kid like Wilson, who he's going to trust immediately, I do think the sky is the limit there. It just all depends on how quickly that offense gets out for New York.
All right, so let's look at it. I asked you about players you're gonna, fading a little bit, and ask you about rookies. Outside, is there? When you look at Darren Waller, you think Darren Waller with the Giants year one is going to be exactly what he was when healthy 2020 with the Vegas Raiders? Tight end position obviously dominated by Travis Kelce at the top. What do you look at tight end spots outside of Kelce when you're looking at your top five, John?
Yeah, I don't mind taking a dart throw on Darren Waller because, again, you're looking at the offense in New York and nobody really stands out. They have a lot of guys that are kind of the same. I'm seeing highlights again of Sterling Shepard out there running around looking good. And him and Daniel Jones have a great chemistry together, but how long is Sterling Shepard going to be healthy for, right? They brought in guys like Paris Campbell, another guy that gets hurt a lot. They have Wan'Dale Robinson. He got hurt last year. They drafted Jalen Hyatt. A lot of people are high on Hyatt this year. If he can stay healthy, maybe there's potential there. So for tight ends, I think Waller's fine because he should kind of come in and assert himself. I think as that number one, safety option there for Daniel Jones, as long as he is healthy, he still has sort of the athleticism to be that difference maker at the tight end position, pairing up against linebackers and safeties. I don't generally draft tight ends early. You don't really see me going after a Kelce or an Andrews too often in drafts. I've been taking some value plays on George Kittle, though. He's been kind of falling later in drafts this year than he had in years past. And I think the uncertainty around the quarterback position has a lot to do with that. But, if Purdy is good to go, or even if Lance ends up being the quarterback, which I don't think is going to be the way that goes, George Kittle to me feels like a pretty good value. So I've been grabbing some of him in the middle rounds. Other than that, though, I've largely just been waiting. I have a lot of Juwan Johnson. I've drafted Mike Gesicki, kind of just pairing a bunch of tight ends together and seeing which ones work.
If you're starting a league and you're the commissioner, what are your league settings? What do you like the best? How many teams do you want in there? Are we going super flex? Like, what do you like?
Yeah, I like to keep it simple. So I'll do PPR or half PPR, depending on what the league wants to do. We're doing 12 teams. You're doing your standard quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex kind of leagues that I've always been in there. I don't do kickers or defenses, though.
Good.
So because I think there's just too much randomness when it comes to those 2 positions here. So we're doing skill position players only. We're doing fab bidding, and we're doing an auction draft. So
yes.
Those are my ideal league settings.
John, you and I just became best friends with that. Everything you said there, I do like to mix in super flex every once in a while, though.
Sure. Yeah, that's been the latest craze. People love their quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So they love getting that second quarterback in there.
John, how many leagues do you do?
I'm going to guess. Can I go? I'm going to go over
20.
Under. No, it's more. I was going to go over under 27 and a half, and I'll take the over.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if we don't count best ball leagues, because I'm already up over like 40, 50 best ball leagues. Yeah, I've had to start keeping a spreadsheet of my rosters on an Excel sheet every day, so I can kind of like search function players who's in and out and bye weeks and things like that. Yeah, it gets to be around 20. What happens is I say every year I'm going to cut myself down, and then someone's like, "Hey, I need one more." Yeah. They call me, "Hey, I need one more." And they call me because they know what I do for a living. Like, "Oh, we'll get John, he'll do it." And I usually do. So I find myself in a lot of fantasy football leagues. It's just so easy to sit there, draft, and manage because it's only a couple days a week,
Well, John, so how much time, and you do this for a living, right? You're great at what you do. But I'm curious, so let's put the best ball leagues out of it. Sure. You're in 20 leagues. How much time do you spend after a given week going through waiver wires? Like, is that a 2-3 hour process every week?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, again, looking over your roster, seeing what you need, and then scouring the waiver wires. I'm actually someone that doesn't make a ton of moves, believe it or not, in their leagues. I kind of don't like to overreact. Now, if there are game-breaking players that are available. Like last year, I was in a couple leagues where Kenneth Walker was available. I threw all of my fab budget on it, 100%, whatever I had left on Kenneth Walker. There's a good conversation and discourse about that, because, should you be saving some money, or you should be dumping it all in a guy that you think could be a game changer when it comes to fab? For me, it didn't feel like there was going to be another player with that type of impact coming available at the waiver wire when Rashad Penny got hurt. So I'm willing to spend that kind of money. But for the most part, I don't really like to tinker with the teams that I draft unless there's an obvious need, an injury happens, or a player is very obviously underperforming. But I don't like to overreact. I did it once before where I actually let go of T. Higgins 2 years ago as a rookie. He was slow to start, let him go for a roster move, and T. Higgins been having a great rookie year. Kind of kicked myself on that one there. But for the most part, I don't spend a lot of time on waivers because I don't really play the waiver game all that often.
You still have home leagues with buddies or family?
Yeah, I do, and I cannot crack my home league. My family league with my cousins and my sister, my brother-in-law. They clown on me. They're like, "This is what you're supposed to be doing for a living." I said, "I get it. I just can't do it. I can't beat it. I haven't been able to win it yet. Maybe this year will change things, but yeah, I'm still in a lot of friends and home leagues, and then a whole bunch of industry leagues as well."
John, you and I really are living like the same life. So one of my buddies, and he called in, Moose, I guess it was like 2 weeks ago, my buddy Mike called in,
Yeah.
right? He's a big Rangers fan, so he wanted to talk hockey, but then he decided to start bashing me and my fantasy, football acumen, because we've been in the same home league since 2000. So it's literally been 22, 23 years. I've won it once. I've been in the finals a couple of times, semifinals all the time, and like champion and like playoffs, but only won it once. He came on to just bash me and just say, like, it's so weird, right? Like somehow, like you can win these industry leagues and then you lose your home leagues.
Yeah, I have one friend league that I do pretty well in, but then there's a couple that are they're just so tough, man. And it's weird because I generally will draft around the same type of players. I go in, I have my tiers, I have my rankings, I go in with my draft strategy, spend a lot of time writing these articles and doing the research and giving the analysis. So I feel like I'm very prepared going into these drafts. And then, one year, one of the leagues I'm in, the kid who auto-drafted his draft won the league. And I'm sitting there pulling my hair out. I'm like, you just let the computer pick his league just by taking the best available player. And
you should have said that that's your win because you do this for a living and my computer.
I'm just sitting there. I'm like, it's unbelievable the amount of time that happened. So maybe this will be the year I can crack my home league. Yeah, my sister's been giving me a lot of grief because she's been in the playoffs the last few years here, and I just can't get it done. Had Christian McCaffrey 2 years ago, gets hurt, and then last year was just kind of had Jalen Hurts right, didn't have anything else right. So we'll see what happens moving into this year.
All right, John. So the draft guide, it's out $26.99. Go to fantasyalarm.com. So you sign up for the draft guide. Everything you need to know, or all the information is right there for you to have a successful fantasy season, right?
100%. And don't just get the draft guide. Come join the family. Buy the annual subscription, buy the monthly subscription. You get access to the draft guide. You get access to all of the content we put on site, not just seasonal, but DFS content. Well, if you do, we had a millionaire winner a couple of years ago. We had a guy win $500,000 a couple of years ago using our DFS content for the NFL season. Right now we have that promo going on. It's NFL 50. It's 50% off for the first 6 months. That takes you through the first couple months of the NFL season. We have the 7-day free trial. So, and the draft guide's included in that also. And we got a brand new Discord up there. It's been updated. We got a whole bunch of channels in there. We're in there, myself, Howard Bender, Andrew Cooper, the whole team is in there. So you get live draft assistance in our Discord if you sign up for the All Pro package as well. So do the whole thing. Just come join the family here and start winning with us this football season.
But there's always, rankings within family. So before we let you go,
sure.
Ronis, Coop, Bowden, Bender, rank them as fantasy football managers.
I think Howard may be watching, so we'll say Howard won. Okay. And then we'll just lump.
But you're not being honest
together. We won't be overly.
Let's go on the idea. No, let's go on the idea that
imagine Howard was not watching.
Yeah, let's just go on the idea. You could be open and honest.
Yeah,
I still go Howard.
John, you're in a safe tree.
Yeah. I don't know how safe this tree is here. I feel like you're trying to get me
don't worry, the branch is not going to burst. Don't worry.
Everybody here at Fantasy Slam knows exactly what they're doing. So And yeah, actually better Boston there. Everybody wants to be Britt Flynn. I agree. Britt Flynn's great. Listen, everybody's great here at Fantasy Alarm.
All right. You do not need to rank them.
Go tune in to Quick Out Fantasy Football at 1:00. Me and Coop are going to be on there today talking some more divisional.
Well, I'll ask it to you this way, John.
We got that going on.
You have a big move you need to make.
What's
you
that?
need fantasy advice.
Yeah.
You're brilliant at what you do, but you need bounce an idea off someone. Who are you calling?
Probably Coop. He's on speed dial for me.
Okay.
So
Coop is on speed dial. That answers it. Yeah. John, you're the best, man. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's fun.
No, this is great. Don't be a stranger. Don't be bashful, all right?
Won't be.
All right, you got it.
You guys later.
John Impemba, cool. Senior Content Manager for FantasyAlarm.com. We would mention it. Check out and purchase $26.99. Get it for free. Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide now available. You get it for free. How? With a monthly or annual all-pro subscription to Fantasy Alarm. Go to FantasyAlarm.com. And you mentioned it right now. Get 6 months, 50% off with NFL 50. At Fantasy Alarm.
Do it.
No doubt, no question. We'll come back. We got an hour down. Sharapan's going to join us. We got a Dave alert. He's joining us at 11:30 this morning. We'll talk a little bit about the Vegas Golden Knights. That is going to be some celebration as they celebrate the Stanley Cup. And good on Jonathan Marchessault for being named the Conn Smythe winner. We'll get into a little Cup playoffs. We'll talk about some other things. Got to get into Zion, Bradley Beal, and some NBA rumors a week out from the NBA draft as well. He's Keith Arizari. I'm Mark Malusis. It's Moose and Keith with you on a Thursday. Better Sports Network.
I feel like this is a quietly contentious point in Dynasty Fantasy Football, what it means to actually be rebuilding. Some people say you should never truly be rebuilding. How do you view the rebuilding versus competing dichotomy in Dynasty?
So I will be the first person to acknowledge that my preferred format of fantasy football is just redraft. The years that I have played Dynasty, it has been, I've drafted a win now team because I've seen people that have just gotten into the cycle of rebuilding and thus they just don't make any progress. So if you're rebuilding for the 5th year in a row, I just, I don't know exactly how you get out of it, but yeah, it's definitely something that can happen. And a lot of people, especially when we come out of the NFL draft, everyone's just instantly shipping off, draft picks and everything. So, I mean, it's definitely something that can happen.
Joey, do you feel similarly to it? Do you feel like you see people getting stuck in the rebuilding loop?
I mean, I would say people that try to rebuild in the beginning of seasons, of their fantasy seasons, I see them get stuck in that rut. I would really try to only ever rebuild if I knew I was going to miss the playoffs. Like, I'm always trying to play to win, even if it's maybe I don't know.
I think my big thing is the word rebuild is a much shorter time frame than I think most people say it should be. Like, they look at rebuild as like 3 years out competing. Rebuild, you're looking to compete next season. You know what I mean? Like, if you're doing it now, you're looking to revamp, and maybe there's a one season where you ship it off, but that very next season you should be competing. If you're doing it like that, I'm cool with it, but you got to have a plan, not just keep getting the young players, keep getting the draft picks. Otherwise, you end up like Tim. Maybe not like Tim who gets a bye, but you make the playoffs, you're in that like 4 to 6 range every year, just hovering in the middle. Nothing ever gets better, nothing ever gets worse.
I think I play like you in Dynasty, Simon. I play in 3-year windows.
100%. That's my go-to. And with the rate at which Dynasty leagues turn over, you should really only ever play in a 3-year window.
Bye weeks are so incredibly important in best ball because you can't change your lineup. You can't grab somebody off the waiver wire. You don't make changes. So you've got to be prepared. If you're taking 4 quarterbacks because you want to be sure you got to be very methodical about the schedule, especially the bye weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point by you because I don't, in redraft leagues and in especially in dynasty leagues, I don't give a damn about bye weeks in a dynasty league. I'm taking the talent that I need, especially if it's like a startup dynasty league, man. And so, that's created situation. Matt Deutsch's league last year, I had a glut of, it was like week 9, I seem to remember. It was the bye week of death for me. Like, it's a 2 quarterback league. I had a bunch of QBs. They were like all on the bye at the same week. It was insane. Yeah, at best ball, you've got to really be strategic about that, and it's almost more important than the statistics that you might put next to the player as the bye week to let you know, no, I can't go there because I got this guy,
Right.
and this guy, and this guy already.
You
there.
have an opportunity to get a quarterback you want, but your first two have the same bye week. You just can't do that to yourself. You have to be thinking it through. I do pay attention to bye weeks in my drafts. I just do. It makes me a lot less of a struggle bus situation when it comes to Mageddon. I don't want to have 4 players. I don't want to have all my wide receivers to just be playing scrubs. I don't want to have to get rid of a player that I like, that's healthy, that's performing for me just because out of desperation.
Moose and Keith with you right here on the Better Sports Network on this Thursday. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for everyone in the chat session as well. We appreciate all the love. And we'll be back with you next Tuesday. Keith had family stuff, a little bit of balance. He had field day last couple of days, right? How'd that work out for you?
Field day was good. I was dunk tank assistant. It was fun. Knocked the guy.
So you didn't. So Sharapan asked me the other night when I was chatting with him, he go, did Keith do the dunk tank? And I said, I don't know. It's a great question.
I did not.
He did not tell me if he went into the dunk tank.
So I had a bunch of parents be like, oh, I can't believe, you seem like the dad that would be doing it. And I said, yes, I get it.
That's true. So, you do seem like the dad that would be doing it.
But like the one issue becomes, if you choose to do it, you're doing it for all of 3rd grade, right? Which means you're there for an hour and a half getting dunked. And I literally would see my son Alex for 10 minutes during the 2 hours. Like I'm doing field day so I can be with my kid, right? So because it's like one person sits in there and just gets dunked for almost 2 hours, whereas I was dunk tank assistant for 12 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it was. And then we went to the hula hoop station. I'm with the kids. The playground, I'm with the kids. Like I follow his class. So yet another reason why I will not do dunk tank. If it was just for his class, I would do it. But I want to be able to like be there and.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So it would have been like the whole day.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally you sit there for 2 hours for all of 3rd grade. So
do they like throw some food at you or anything? Like, do they feed you?
No, I didn't get any food at all.
No food at all.
Nothing. There was a Kona
nothing
ice
to hydrate
truck there.
You? Are you a big Kona ice guy?
I'm not. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, like
I got stuck being the Kona ice person putting the the liquid on the ice for kids.
Oh,
at one point. It's like
really?
dripping down your hands.
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff.
So I'm not a huge Kona Ice guy. I really am not. They had it at lacrosse this past weekend. Gregory had his final lacrosse practice, and they had a little bit of a scrimmage and stuff like that. And afterward, and he was like drenched, and it was hot. It was like 85, whatever it was, and the field was just sun drenched. And they had the Kona Ice truck, so I got him a Kona Ice, and I got Jackson a Kona Ice. He hung with me and watched practice. And then they're like, Daddy, get one. So I got one. I had like 3 scoops. I had like major brain freeze. And then I was like, I'm done. And of course, then Jackson and Gregory like devoured my Kona Ice after they ate their own.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like,
it's fine.
It's not great.
Yeah, it's whatever. Yeah.
Like, give me like what's in the yellow cup? Is it Martine's yellow Italian
you want
ice?
that where it's like the hard rock sugary thing on the bottom.
Yes.
No.
Give me that stuff. Like that was, I mean, that'll get you flying for a couple hours.
Oh yeah.
There's no doubt. Yeah, the Kona Ice to me, I think, is very, very overrated.
Yeah, all that stuff too. I always worried like all that food dye stuff, man. It changes the color of your mouth. Like even that. Like I knew Kona Ice was being done at like 12:30. If any of the moms or dads, if we wanted, they would have given us Kona Ice and we could have had it. But I had to be on the air at 6 o'clock. I'm like, I don't need my mouth to be blue,
Right.
I'm good.
All right, lot more to get into. Sharapan's going to join us bottom of the hour. We'll chat with him about all things betting and all things life as well, and catch up with Dave because it's been a couple weeks. But
his dog is running around with a Vegas Golden Knights sweater on.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Let me ask you this. Do you think Bradley Beal or Zion Williamson is traded by next Thursday?
Zion, no.
Bradley
Beal, I think there's a chance, yes.
Okay. Now, where do you think the landing spot is for Bradley Beal? Now, he's got a no trade clause. He's got no trade clause. He's going into the second year of the $251 million contract.
Yep.
So he still's got 4 years left at about 200 million, give or take. He's averaging about 50 million a year for the next 4 years. And I just read yesterday he's got a 15% trade kicker as well. So if he gets moved, maybe he's something he waives. But if he gets moved, finally, it seemed like Bradley Beal just wanted to rot away on the vine down in Washington. Had no interest in leaving. Was happy with the organization. And he's no longer 23, 24, 25, right? I think he's going to be 30, or he is 30. When you look at Bradley Beal, he's been in the league for a little while here. He's an unbelievable shooter when healthy, one of the best pure shooters.
29.
The comparison, 29. The comparisons were to Ray Allen when he was coming out of Florida because of how pure his shot is. Where do you think the landing spot is for Bradley Beal?
Yeah, and actually his birthday is June 28th, so he's going to be 30 before when the season starts. You're right. So, all right, so he's going to be 30 years old. He's the fourth or annual average value, whatever, fourth highest paid player per season per year in the NBA. You talked about the extension there. I think Miami makes sense. I think that the Miami Heat have to come out of this past season realizing that this collective group can do a lot of good things, but cannot necessarily be great. And that's almost, I'm not trying to sound disparaging, because when you're one of the two final teams, it's like the Florida Panthers had a great season. The Miami Heat had a great season. They got to the mountaintop and they just couldn't get literally to the tippy top of the mountain. Miami needs to do something. You know, a sneaky one I was thinking about, and I had mentioned it to, I don't remember if it was Austin or Alex, which one of my sons. What about Golden State? So Jordan Poole just got paid a boatload of money, right? Klay Thompson is still there and could be part of a move, and you've got all these young pieces. Is that something that can entice Washington? And would that be an enticing landing spot for Bradley Beal? Of course it would. I'm sure he would love to play alongside Steph Curry, and basically the Warriors would be getting a younger version of Klay Thompson.
I like that. I mean, that's not a bad one. That's not a bad one. I mean, Golden State's got to try and do something to change the narrative and really the team chemistry out there in Golden State, because it was never the same after the punch from Draymond Green to Jordan Poole during the course of training camp. And that's now. Let me ask you a couple other teams. How about the Miami Heat?
Yeah, so no, I like the Heat, and I saw, I think it was Windy that might have put it up. Something to the effect of, it might not have been Windy, and I apologize, but if it was Beal for Hero, Duncan Robinson, there was one more piece that would help with the money, and then like a first or like one or two first round picks. Like that would work for Beal. Is that enough in return Washington getting?
Well, the reports is that you'll be surprised at how little it's going to take because of the size of that contract to go get Bradley Beal from Washington.
Right.
Exactly. Now, he missed, 32 games, I believe, this past year due to injury when you look at Bradley Beal, right? Didn't have an unbelievable
But he's putting salt in his water, and that helps with the cramping, just so you know.
Right, there you go.
I don't know if you've seen those commercials. I'm sorry. They're just on. I see those commercials. It's on FS1 and MLB Network. Though I see Bradley Beal commercials like all day when I'm flipping through channels. Anyway.
Now, let me ask you about a team that's near and dear to both of our hearts. How about the Knicks?
I would love it, but it would have to be Julius Randle for the money, right? And I don't think Washington wants.
What about RJ Barrett?
The money doesn't match.
What about if you do RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin?
Right. I think Fournier would have to be a part of it just because of the money, right?
Right.
Like Washington would have to be willing to take
Fournier
him.
stinks.
And I know the Knicks would be fine with that. And I think that they would want Grimes or Quickly also. Would you do Obi, Barrett, Grimes, or Quickly for Beal? Would you do three of those guys for Beal?
I probably would.
I probably would too. I don't believe that. See, I want Obi to be great.
Well, but let me ask you,
I'm not sure the
defense,
Tibbs
how big of a hit are you going to take defensively in the backcourt with Beal and Brunson?
They don't play defense, neither of them.
No, I know. That's my point. My point is that's going to be a massive hit defensively, right? So Fournier, they'd have to take Fournier's money. Like Fournier would have to be a part of it. So if I gave you don't think RJ Barrett, Fournier, and Obi Toppin would be enough with picks?
Well,
you think I'd have to give up Grimes?
I'm gonna see. Let's actually do let's do the trade. So we're going Washington. All right. So the Knicks would be giving up Fournier, and Barrett. You going just those two, and then we'll add it. No, it's Fournier and Obi, right?
Fournier.
So Fournier, Barrett, and Obi.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't allow you to add picks, but just act like we're adding picks. And it's for Beal. Let's see if that would be. This trade has failed. The Knicks are over the luxury tax threshold with this trade, and the incoming aggregate salaries exceeded what's allowed. The 125% cut 368,106 from the Knicks incoming trade value. So the Knicks, it's just,
that's not enough money.
It's not enough money. So if we adjust the trade, see, that's the thing is, like, I don't think Washington's going to want Randall, but Randall's the money that would have to be included.
All right, but okay, so then say that you do the deal that you did. Say if you did Obi, Grimes, Fournier, and Barrett.
All right.
Or you add Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose has a no trade clause, so it doesn't allow me to add him. Let's try that. That would be successful. Okay. Fournier, Barrett, Obi, and Grimes for Beal. That works.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
I mean, but now, okay, so you got Beal out there. Now, do you play the long game if you're the Knicks and maybe try and go get Zion Williamson from New Orleans?
I actually don't think New Orleans is going to trade him. I think that New Orleans.
What about if he wants out?
Okay, that's different. All right.
Well, say if Zion wants out, and Zion's talked about his affinity of playing in Madison Square Garden. Now, I also understand. I mean, Zion Williamson's barely healthy. He's played 114 games in 3 years, so he's always off the court. We're not going to get into everything that's going on with him off the court as well now. But I mean, when you look at him as a talent, there's no doubting his talent and his impact. The question is now, what are you going to get, and how much would you have to give up to go get Zion Williamson? You'd have to give up probably considerably more. Now, there's reports down New Orleans that the Pelicans are looking to try and move up because they're really in what was it, Scoot Henderson, I believe it is, right?
Yeah.
That they're really enamored with him, that they're trying to move up, and maybe they'll dangle Zion Williamson out there. I don't know where. I mean, that's something that I think the Knicks would be interested in. Like, I love Brandon Ingram. There's no way if you're New Orleans, I mean, just close up shop if you decide to trade Brandon Ingram. He's an unbelievable scoring talent, guy that's standing at 6'10". He's almost Kevin Durant light when you look at Brandon Ingram. Zion Williamson would be one of intrigue, but I agree with you. I don't think he's getting moved. I think Beal gets moved, and he's got a no trade, and he can direct where he wants to go. I think Beal probably gets moved before the draft. I think Zion's got a potential to get moved this summer.
Yeah, I think the Zion thing is going to be interesting to see if they feel like he can get healthy. What is it? He's played 114 games over the last 3 seasons, right?
That's it. Yeah.
It's nothing.
No, think about that.
He's never healthy. He can't stay on the floor.
He's played in less than half the games. There's 82 games a year. So there's 80, 160, 240, 246, 246 games in the last 3 years. He's played 114 of them.
And this might sound like I'm being mean, but it just doesn't look like he cares to get himself in the shape that he should be in. And I could be wrong, but it's like nothing has shown me that he wants to be in shape. Like Julius Randle. Remember when Julius Randle was a little doughy? I think he was in New Orleans or with LA, whatever. He was a little doughy. And then he spent one entire summer working out. And he did that one picture where he was like in the mirror and he went like this. And it's like, whoa, dude's got some abs now. Like, what happened? Like, he changed his diet. He got in the gym. He worked hard. And he went on and had an all-star season. Like, Zion Williamson feels like the guy that, you know, and I know we might talk about Baby Gronk a little bit at some point in the show. But it feels like, you know, everyone has told him how great he was since he was insert age, right? I bet you he was the best third grader. He was the best fourth grader. He was one of the most dominant fifth graders, like, you know, on and on and on. And it never really mattered. Like senior year, he was a little bit doughy, but he was still jumping for the free throw line. So who cares? Duke freshman year, RJ Barrett was very ballyhooed and like, oh, is it RJ? Is it him? Blah, 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 whatever. But Zion still just dominated, ended up being the number 1 overall pick. And then when he's on the court, he's great. But until you actually like take care of your body, there's going to be injuries that happen. Like with the force that he's jumping, I don't think he can be 285 pounds. I don't think he can be.
No, I don't. That's where, I don't know when he has the moment where he's got to have the understanding he can't play the yo-yo diets and be up and down. I don't know. But that would be concerning.
Baby J, there's a difference. Okay, so the doughy of Jokic, right? Their games are different. Zion and Jokic have totally different games. Zion's game begins because of his sheer athleticism, and then you get the other things. Jokic's game is he's smarter. He's got the best footwork in basketball, you could argue. His vision is amazing. Like, he is a point center. Zion is an undersized, super uber athletic power forward. So you tell me that Zion is going to come back after the summer and be the best passing power forward in basketball? Well, then this is a different conversation.
No doubt. They're totally different games. Zion is built on his athleticism. Nikola Jokic was criticized for lack of athleticism.
Yeah.
So they go about not saying that both can be equally effective playing the game. They just do it entirely differently. So, and those that are around Jokic will tell you that he's in incredible shape, that he might not be cut, might not be ripped, and might not have, but he is in really, really good shape, even though he has this kind of doughy look. Yeah. But let's not make it out to be he looks like, what was it? Miller from Arkansas, who everyone used to talk about his weight all the time. Who was the guy?
Big O.
Oliver Miller.
Oliver Miller.
Yeah, Oliver Miller. Remember, we used to always talk about Oliver Miller's weight.
Big Country Reeves.
Yeah, Big Country Brian Reeves. No question about it. So we'll see. I think Zion's got an opportunity to get traded this summer. We'll see exactly where Bradley Beal does end up. And Miami poking around. Miami needs to find a little bit more offense. We know that, given what we saw limitation-wise from them in the NBA Finals against the Denver Nuggets. You mentioned Baby Gronk. Let's get into it a little bit because, Keith, you and I, we both have, I've got 3 boys. You've got 2 boys. It doesn't matter, boy or girl, athletes in the family that like to play sports and do things. And we all, we all wish the best for our kids, whatever they want to do in life. I mean, it doesn't even have to be athletics. We both like sports because of what it can teach them at an early age about leadership, about camaraderie, about sportsmanship. Like, those are lessons that you can take on well beyond, a basketball court, a hockey rink, a baseball diamond, a football field, doesn't matter, right? If they're able to, peak athletically and are able to play professionally down the line, that's fantastic. But like, we're not looking at our kids now, just like I've seen this before with other, we've seen it with Marv Marinovich and Todd Marinovich. We've seen it with other athletes in the past where all of a sudden they're trying to build like the perfect specimen, the perfect athlete, the perfect quarterback, whatever it might be. And in the end, it doesn't, like, it just doesn't work. I mean, it's got to come from within the individual, and the stuff and the amount of publicity that around this 10-year-old football player is just like, good for them, I guess, to an extent. They're making a lot of money. But can you let the 10-year-old be a kid?
So let's talk about this. So, me, I'm a benefit of the doubt guy, right? Like, I tend to think of things positively. We're both like nice people, right? So my initial thought when I read the article in The Athletic last week was that, all right, so this sounds like a pageant mom, essentially, right? That is pushing their kid, whether actor, actress, athlete, and getting the most out of them early, giving their kid lots of experiences that normal kids or regular kids don't normally get, right? This kid, Baby Gronk, his real name is Madden San Miguel, is getting a chance to, tour universities and meet former professional athletes and grow his Instagram following and have all this status. And it's things that a normal 9 or 10-year-old will never even sniff. So from that stance, I'm like, all right, it's not bad. Okay. Then you read a little bit further in the article, and the dad, who sounds like essentially he was a failed athlete and is kind of living through his kid, but has a PR background and is saying that, you know, everything that we do, we're not spending. And I think the quote was, we don't touch any of the money that's getting brought in. It all goes into some sort of bank account, right? And he's claiming that this kid is bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars right now. If that's true, Moose, you even go, all right, that could be cool. This kid could end up being 18, 19 years old. Maybe none of it pans out. And he's got, you know, $2 million in a bank account to start his life. That's fantastic. All of that was cool. And then I saw that interview posted on whatever that show was. And I know you saw it too. I thought the guy sitting next to Madden, baby Gronk, was part of the bit. That was his dad.
Yeah.
Feeding him lines. This poor kid. The line that the kid, when the host says, like, what are you doing in the off season? And he goes, I don't know. And the dad goes, no. Tell him that you're getting massages by baddies. Do you know what that means? Do you even understand what baddies means?
I don't know.
Baddies means really like sexy women.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Like when you say, yo, she's a baddie, that means like she's hot. You're telling a 9, 10-year-old to do that. It feels wrong now.
Well, yeah. When it all goes away, like, what's the reaction from somebody that has not reached adulthood? Like when the attention and the focus and the Instagram and the 15 minutes goes away, how do you handle it then when you're 11, 12 years old?
I mean, I guess it worked for the Ball family, but I don't feel like it started this young.
Well, I mean, but let's be perfectly honest. There are a lot of people that believe that the oldest Ball's son has the knee issues he has because he was playing in crap sneakers.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, and that, you know, those sneakers were absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And they didn't provide him the support. I mean, there's a fear in Chicago that he'll never play basketball again.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. So, like, let's be realistic here. Like, you look at things, and I get it. I mean, I've always, but that started when you had a young man who was 18, 17, 18 years old, maybe 16. We're talking about like a 9, 10-year-old talking about football. And I gotta be honest with you, like, kids burn out. Like, they do. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you can't live vicariously through your son or daughter and try and realize your dreams through them. Like, they have to have their own life and their own journey, whatever that might be. Your goal as a parent is to be supportive, obviously, give them life lessons, have an understanding of what right and wrong is, how to treat people, the fact that you have to be responsible, all of these things that you as a parent are trying to instill in your kids, before they go off into the world, college, and then, potentially if they decide not to join the workforce at 18, whatever it might be, but how they live the rest of their lives. But you can't go out and force your will. Like when the dad's talking about, well, I know what I was, I was an athlete, when I was growing up. So he's an athlete. Well, okay, great. But I mean, I've seen all-time great athletes. Michael Jordan's kids, were they great basketball players? No. I mean, gotta be honest with you, they weren't. I mean, you look at it, sometimes it just doesn't work that way. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes all of a sudden out of, two people that maybe you say don't scream athletes, all of a sudden you have this unbelievable athlete. Like, that's just the way life works sometimes. It just does. So yeah. I just look at it, Keith, like the biggest thing for me as a dad when I look at my kids and they're playing hockey is, I'm not one of those parents that are screaming. I want my kids to play well. I'm proud of the way that they, play with their teammates, that they lead, that they have fun, they have a good time. I tell my kids all the time, smile, enjoy it, take it all in, have fun. I mean, that's really what it's supposed to be all about. None of this other nonsense. Like, there's so much, like, putting pressure on a 10-year-old is insane to me. No, like, let them enjoy being a kid because they only have one go around to this. Like, you can't go back at 20 and relive when you're 10 or 11. Like you just can't. Like you only have one go around with this. Let them enjoy being a 9, 10, 11-year-old, whatever it might be, without having pressure of the world. And let me ask you this, like I mentioned before, what happens? What's left when it goes away? What's left when it goes away? Like, how do you handle, like, you're going to have a lot of money. I get it. And that's great, but hopefully they're responsible with that money, because odds are baby Gronk's not going to be a great football player.
Yeah, and I think the dad probably, and I haven't heard if the mom is a part of this or not. It's really the father that seems to be pushing this. I think the dad's thinking from a marketing standpoint, let's market. We're going to make our kid famous. And if the football thing, and he even said there, in the Athletic article, there was a line there, like he could get, baby Gronk could get an injury and this could all go away. And I'm preparing him for that too. If the kid is prepared for that and is famous and goes into other aspects, like maybe he's thinking we live in a social media world where my kid can now just become an influencer down the road. I don't know. But that interview really bothered me. The dad feeding him lines, like the kid looked so uncomfortable in the interview.
He did look,
and I'm trying to not judge, because I definitely think that judging other parents is wrong. And you're not supposed to do that, because everyone parents differently and everyone's child is different. Like no one really knows the answer. I say this all the time to young parents, like when they have their kids. And I come back to this again. Jimmy Cavallo, who I think you know Jimmy Cavallo. Jimmy Cavallo, I used to work with at MSG back in the day when we used to cover high school stuff. When we were pregnant, and I was at a high school lacrosse event or something like that. Jimmy's got 3 daughters. And he said to me, he's like, you nervous? And I was like, yeah, of course I'm nervous, And he's like, do you want some advice? And I said, I would love some advice. He goes, kids are like a science project. You're going to try some things. Ultimately, it's all going to work out. Just don't drop them on their head. And I it was like a little chuckle, but it's true, right? Like none of us have any idea what we're doing as a parent. All we see what our parents did. We take a little bit of that. We also probably see some things maybe that could have been done better or not done. And we try that. We see what our friends' parents did. We try that. Like there's little odds and ends. So I'm trying to not judge. But Ernie just put it there. Is it much different than a child actor? No, it's not. And I actually tweeted that. It's not much different than a child actor. It's just that interview felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, dirty.
Yeah, dirty. Thank you. Yes,
yeah,
it did.
I mean, dirty. That's how it felt. We'll see exactly how this all ends up. I mean, I just hope the kid's able to be.
Thanks, Wally.
That's it.
The chat.
You turned out all right.
Yeah,
you were a child star.
No, I was a 20-something-year-old star. It's over there.
But you worked it in. You got it in. Yeah. You're fair. You're balanced.
I believe so.
You got a right perspective in life.
I think so.
Yeah, that's it. It all works. In the end, it's right. It all works out.
It all works out.
We'll come back. Dave Sharapan. We're going to head out to Vegas. Check in with Dave. Get his thoughts on the Vegas Golden Knights, some other things as well. It's Moose and Keith with you on this Thursday right here, Better Sports Network.
Patrick Kane, the longtime Chicago Blackhawk, who was traded from Chicago to the New York Rangers this year, set up for free agency. But news came yesterday that he has now had hip surgery at the age of 34, and he is going to be out for 4 to 6 months. Now, Kane is probably going to Toronto as a Hall of Famer. Not to Toronto as a Maple Leaf, but, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's got 3 Stanley Cup rings. He's one of the all-time greats in Chicago Blackhawk history. I was shocked when I looked at the free agency rankings this year going into the offseason, and Patrick Kane I saw a couple places where he was the number 1 free agent. I saw a few more where he was number 3 or number 4 or 5. I couldn't wrap my head around that. I am surprised, and maybe it speaks more to the available free agents, and I think that is part of the case. I mean, you've got, I guess, Bergeron's out there, Tarasenko, Ryan O'Reilly. To see a guy coming off the season, Patrick Kane had a bad season. It might have been his worst season. But he had 57 points in 73 games. I was surprised to see that he would be sought after in this market. Now, he is a veteran. He is a respected dude. He's got the Stanley Cup rings, all of that. But paying $6-7 million a season for a 34-year-old, couldn't see it. And now with this hip surgery that was announced yesterday, who signs this guy? And I mean, Patrick Kane was dealing with a hip issue all year. Now, he played through it, give him credit. He chose to have the surgery. He probably knew that if a team even was interested in him, they'd look at the meds and they'd put him through a physical and say, oh, this ain't going to happen. So he just decided to take care of it. Now, you play this out 4 to 6 months, you're talking anywhere between like October and Christmas for Patrick Kane. So even if you sign the guy, you're going to have a guy nearing 35, and you're going to get him for a half season. So I will be following that market. I mean, is anybody giving him more than like a $3 million base or $2 million base? Is anybody giving him more than a year? I mean, sure, there'll be incentives and options and all that, but there's a guy that lost a lot of money, getting set for NHL free agency. Again, that opens on July 1st.
Now it's time for Floyd Mayweather's uncle, Dave Sharapan.
Dave, good morning, brother.
Boy, it's good to see you guys. Yeah, it's
Good
been
to see
too
you.
long.
Like that shirt? Look at that.
Yeah, boy, that's nice. What is that?
From Full House, they were throwing up a W. It wasn't for Wu-Tang, but then it was made into a Wu-Tang shirt.
Oh, I didn't know who those kids were. I was a little
DJ
concerned.
and DJ and Stephanie.
Oh, now I can see it. Okay, all right,
All
now I
right.
can see it. Yeah,
There you go.
all right. I thought they were related to you or something. I thought
Nope.
you did something.
Did not.
No, all right, just making
No,
sure.
didn't do anything, but thanks.
Are Lou and Linda watching?
Lou's golfing today, so
Oh,
Linda might
nice.
be watching, but Lou is out golfing. I
Just
know that.
wanted to say hello to them. I know Donna's not watching, so
No,
you
she's
can tell
not.
her afterward.
I will
That's
tell her
fine.
after that. She's got the boys have got field day today, so
Oh, Donna's on field day?
Donna's on field day today.
Dunk tank?
No dunk tank. They
Oh,
don't have
okay.
a dunk tank.
All right.
Keith
Did you
not
do the
take it.
dunk tank?
No, he was the
No,
dunk
but I
assistant.
explained more. So
He
Dave,
was the dunk assistant.
no, but can I plead my case to the court?
Please do.
So there are either 5 or 6. I think there's 5 classes of 3rd grade. Okay.
Yeah.
So all 3rd grade is together, but they all go to separate stations. Okay.
Yes.
So at dunk tank, you're there for like 12 or 15 minutes. If I chose to do dunk tank, I stay at dunk tank for all 3rd grade classes, which
Oh,
means I don't get a chance to actually see my kid for an hour and a half of field day, which is why I'm there.
Right.
So instead, you do dunk assistant for your kid's class, and it was fun. And I dunked the dad a few times on purpose when a few of the kids couldn't hit the target, right?
Right.
And then time is called, and you move on to the next thing, and I move on with my class. And I got to go to the hula hoop thing, the pizza box carrying thing, the foam donut thing, tossing thing, the
A lot of
playground.
things. Sounds like there was a lot of things.
Yeah, it's lots of things. And then like Kona Ice and stuff. So I
Well,
would have
Kona
missed all
Ice is
that.
always Kona Ice is minus 5,000. I mean,
I
the
got
price
stuck on Kona
Ice.
Ice detail too. I was telling Moose. So me and one of the moms, because the kids are not allowed to touch it, because if they do, they'd probably be putting their mouths under it. And
Kids
stuff
are
like
not
that,
allowed to touch
No.
the Kona Ice. No,
So they hand me
absolutely
the thing, and I have to go. They're like, "Can I get tiger's blood and blue raspberry?" And I'm like, "Vroom, vroom," and then give it back. It's like dripping all over your hand and
All
stuff like
over.
that. Bees were
Very
all over
sticky.
me. Yeah, very
not.
sticky.
Very sticky. Yes.
So now that I plead my case to the court, is it okay?
It's fair. That's a good. You made a good choice. I mean, I
Okay.
still think you in the dunk tank might be the clip that goes viral that pushes you right over the edge. It's close. I mean, it's going to go.
If I
because-
was allowed to just do the one class, I'd do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, we should have negotiated that. We would have had the agent to do that, or
Yeah.
at least the wife. Jody would have done that. There's no question.
No, I would have had you handle that.
I would have called for you.
I know
There's
you
no
would've.
doubt. So I'm glad you did it. Field day is great.
Yep.
Moose, get ready for when they come home. They're going to talk about field day nonstop. So
Well, I'm
that's
excited
good.
for it.
Yeah,
I really am.
that's good.
What was Donna's role today?
She wasn't. I think she was just like administration, like getting
She like
the
handing
kids
out
to,
water or something?
yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. She just wanted to make sure she was there for the boys.
Is she the active mom? Like if suddenly a game breaks out, is she taking part in it, or is she more?
Yeah,
standing
she
on the
would
side
take
watching?
part. Yeah, she would have fun with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt. No, she's not just like like a bystander and has no interest in doing that. No,
Yeah, because
she's
no,
like
there
she's
are
a
going to be
total
some
boys
parents that are
mom.
like this on the
Yeah,
side.
no,
They're like,
You can't do
no,
that.
good job,
she's a,
Timmy.
no,
Yeah,
she's a
yeah,
total
no,
boys mom.
yeah.
Okay.
She's there cheering, rooting, screaming. Yes, no doubt.
Moose, did you tell Keith about my text to you the other night when I thought I saw your son on the
Yes.
promo?
Yes,
Did
it
you
looked
see this?
exactly like Jackson.
The kid
No.
looked just like him, did he not?
He did. He looked just like Jackson. Yes, there's
It
no
was
doubt.
alarming, Keith. So after the Knights clinched the Stanley Cup, which, by the way, it's still drunk kind of here in
Yeah.
Vegas.
I mean, your dog still has a sweater on from the
Took it
Golden
off.
Knights, yeah.
It was too hot. I told the
Okay.
kids, listen, you got to take it off. It's starting to heat up here. Hasn't been 100 degrees here in 262 days.
Amazing.
Like it
wow.
makes no sense that
Yeah,
it's June 15th
Yeah.
and hasn't even been 100 degrees.
I know. I
yet.
told
It's getting hot.
Peralta he should move back east. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He's coming back east next week. I guess he's going to come by. I don't know if he's going to New York, but he's going to Boston. Anyhow, I'm watching the post game, and they sum up the playoffs. Each round, shots, videos, big goals, crowd shots. And boom, there's a little kid in a Ranger jersey with the hair flowing. And I said, oh, that's Moose's oldest right there. My wife's like, who's Moose and why are you yelling at the TV? I said, hold on, rewind. And I rewind, and the guy calls. We start talking. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. I said, I think I just saw Jackson on TV. He goes, what are you talking about? He had just done his show and covered the Yankees and the Mets and all this other stuff. And because I'm 3 hours behind. So I'm like the late night call for a lot of people, which I love because I'm still on back East time. And I take this picture and I send it. And Moose said it just like me. Wow, that looks just like Jackson. It looked just like him.
It looked exactly like him, but he was wearing a Ranger jersey and he had his face painted. And I was like, no. I go, well, he was wearing a Ranger jersey, but he didn't have his face painted. But it looked exactly like him.
That was great.
It was like a doppelganger. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, it looks exactly like him.
Did you guys enjoy the Stanley Cup Finals at all?
I mean, I watched everything, but it was a bloodbath.
Yeah, I mean,
I say that the Panthers were gassed and got outclassed.
I mean, that's the result, but two of the games were close, like to the point where it was one goal away from being 2-2 coming back, and it was 3-1. Game 5 clincher blowout, harking me back to 1991 when the Penguins beat the North Stars 8-0 in Game 6 on the road and won their first Stanley Cup. The celebration started after the second period. It was all, everybody was like, we were texting and what are you doing? And I had a major debate in the house that you guys will have when the kids get older. The teenagers wanted to go down to the Toshiba Plaza and watch the game outside with the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I said, listen, it's we're not in Pittsburgh. We're not in places like that. That's the Las Vegas Strip and your teenage girls. I don't think it's a good idea, but we want to see them win the Stanley Cup. You said you think they're going to win. We want to be there. Did I do the wrong thing? Because I said it to the wife. I don't approve of them going down there. She agreed. We had World War III in the house.
Well, if she agreed, then you did not do the wrong thing.
I know, but you're cool Uncle Mark and cool Uncle Keith in New York. You wouldn't have signed off on the teenagers going down.
Well,
19 and 18.
Would you have gone with them?
No. They wanted to go.
No, I would have said I'll go with you. If you guys want to go, I'll go with you.
I offered that as a peace offering.
That was the only way that
and they
this
told
happened.
me Stugatz. They said no, you're not coming with us.
And then I would have said Stugatz to you.
That's what I did.
Yeah, I think you handled it very well.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that's I mean, when's the parade is Saturday?
So
that should be something.
This is
so
what Vegas does, right?
Where's the parade going to be?
Saturday night at 7:00 p.m. Pacific on the Las Vegas Strip. They're going to go from Flamingo down to Trop and turn right into the Toshiba Plaza and have probably a nice big stage set up that the players get on.
Dude,
Show
that's going to
everybody
be
the cup.
great. Where are you setting up? Where are the Sharapans setting up?
I don't know yet, Moose, because there's a lot of construction. There's going to be a lot of traffic. There's going to be a lot of issues getting in and out of there on a Saturday night. Can we have done it at 11 o'clock or something like that? When do you do parades? You don't do parades at night.
They're always during
Yeah,
the
but
day.
it's
always.
but it's too
But it's
hot in
Vegas.
Vegas. You're in the desert.
It's not that hot. It's not. It's just not going to be the family-friendly parade. Saturday night on the Strip. Are you guys aware of what goes on Saturday night on the Strip?
I can imagine.
Yeah, so can I. I have 3
So
teenagers.
so do you think this is the kind of thing is this another thing you don't take the girls?
No,
to?
so part of the compromise of them not going to partake in all the celebration of clinching the Stanley Cup in Game 5 was, I will take you to the parade, not knowing that the parade would be Saturday night on the Strip.
Will all 3 girls want to go, and will Jess want to go?
Well, as the girls were with their friends last night, and Jess and I were contemplating our lives at the table and what we're going to do on Saturday night, she said, do you have somewhere to park? Are you going to be able to get us in and out of there Saturday night, or is this going to be like an all-day thing? And it's going to be crazy, isn't it? Because everybody's going to partake
This is the
in all
first
the Vegas
championship
activity.
in Vegas history
Ever.
Well,
Like the
you
Las
gotta-
Vegas Aces would have something to say about
I
that.
well,
but it's-
I understand that.
Of the four
Major sports,
Yes.
right?
So now we were discussing all of that as the grown-ups and all of this going, what are we going to do? If the kids want to go, we'll probably go. But I'm going to have to see a guy about a thing. I'm going to have to get either a high balcony view, some parking spot that's, we can see everything without being in that. I mean, like you guys have lived in New York your whole lives. Have you gone to New Year's Eve down at Times Square? Or
Sort of.
What does that mean? Yes or no?
No, I've not.
No,
I would never
so I've
do that.
sort of done it because
I would never.
year 1 of Tops and year 7 of Tops, we had the show on New Year's Day. So they put us up in a hotel the night before so we wouldn't have to deal with anything. So both times, yes, I brought Jody and the boys, and both times we walked as close to all the hubbub that we could get to without having to stand in lines and stuff like that. So we did get a feel for it, and then we walked away, got ourselves dinner, dessert, and stayed in the hotel.
And Moose, you've never done it?
I would never do it. No,
you would never do it.
No interest. No, I have no interest in wearing a man's diaper. And
yeah, Moose hasn't peed on himself since he was 4.
Yeah, like
so,
I have no interest.
Wait, you have to wear a man's
Well, you
diaper?
have to sit there. You have to stand there. If it's conceivably, it could be raining, could be freezing cold.
Can't give up your spot.
Can't give up your spot, then you lose your spot. And there are places there that won't let you use your bathroom. I would imagine the Porto Johns have got to be disgusting. Yep. And you have to then what do you do? So I'm going to stand there all night to watch a ball drop, and no, I don't.
This is a real thing. People, guys,
Yes.
wear men's diapers.
Yeah.
Go.
And there's other things too. Like a lot of times I've seen where if it's like a group of girls together, they'll bring some sort of blanket with them. And this is disgusting. All right. I'm just gonna let you know. And they'll put the blanket around and they'll pee on the ground.
Well, yeah, Dave.
And
Do you understand?
pull the blanket back
can I
in.
ask you a question? Maybe you don't have this in Vegas. Like you walk around the streets of Manhattan, there will be water bottles filled with urine.
Yes.
From Uber drivers and taxi cab drivers who can't find a
or
bathroom.
the food vendors.
Food vendors,
too.
they pee in a Poland Spring bottle, a water bottle that was drank. Right, they pee in that. They put the cap on and then throw it onto the sidewalk.
Yeah, they should put in the garbage, but usually
they don't. I just walked past one last night. It's disgusting.
I've never.
And he was thirsty too, but he didn't.
Thank you.
That's disgusting. That is gross.
Yeah,
all of it. I had no idea about this. Well, they don't put this on the shows. Like when you watch it from a distance,
Ryan Seacrest
they don't put this
talk
part
about
on
this,
the shows. I never heard Dick Clark talk about this or Ryan Seacrest. Yeah, this is news to me. Wow, I had no idea about that. No, I've done the Strip for New Year's. I mean, I've been on the Las Vegas Strip. They close it, and it's chaos and it's people. I proposed to my wife on the corner of Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard on New Year's Eve. That's what I did. And now they're going to build a ballpark there. Apparently, we're going to have baseball in Las Vegas.
Not.
Or
with everything going on. Yeah.
maybe no,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I didn't know about this. This is
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Are you guys coming to Vegas? I mean, have you guys figured out a time to either just come and sign up for the contest and then
Can we? All right. Can
just
we
do
talk
this?
about the proxy
Yes.
service?
Yeah.
Let's go. Talk about the
Yeah,
proxy
let's do it.
service.
So, I mean, basically what we're doing
It's you and
is
Peralt.
me and Peralt, and we figured this out where the contests are blowing up. They have been for years in our myopic world here. You don't have to live here to participate in the contest, but somebody has to be here to put your picks in for the contest. So there's been these proxy services where you hire them to put in your picks. You have to sign up in person at the books, either at Circa, at Westgate, or at there's going to be a college football contest at the Caesars properties in William Hill. So now, I mean, this is life-changing money. It's $1,000 per entry into these contests, but the formats are different. You pick 5 games a week against the spread in the Circa millions, and you can win quarterly prizes every 4 weeks. The last one's 5 because there's an odd number of games now. You win anywhere from $100,000 down. If you win it all, placing the money, you can win life-changing money. You can win 7 figures, $1 million. And we said, you know what? We've been in contact with a lot of people. Some of the other proxies tried to make a deal with us to be the official proxy of BVB. So we just said, we'll just do it that way ourselves. We, I know how to get the picks in. So we got, so we're going to have a system to do it. You get your picks to us ideally by Friday night at midnight Pacific. You can do it on Saturday morning, but we got to get the picks in, different deadlines for different contests. We put the picks in. The other one is a survivor. It's $1,000 an entry. You can get up to 10 entries in the Circa Survivor contest. Winner take all. Last year, 2 people got all the way to the end and split $6 million. They each won $3 million. So that's what we're doing. It's at Brigade Proxy on Twitter. I don't remember the phone number. We just did it. There's an email, brigadeproxy@gmail.com.
So, Dave, do I have to go
emails.
out to Vegas, but can't you sign up for an entry for you, me, and Keith?
Well, if we were to do it like that, we
Yes.
could do that. I
Okay.
talked to you the other night about doing one. If you guys wanted to do one for the Moose and Keith show, where you guys hammer out what you're going to pick every
That would be
week,
great.
and your Friday content is done. Because you talk about the NFL card. How do you come up with the 5 selections? The banter back and forth. I've done it for years, and I picked it 62% back-to-back years and didn't make the money. So you have to temper expectations. It's very hard, but the Survivor is fantastic. If you get
Dave,
into
what do you think?
October,
Like, where do you think the okay? So if you're doing football picks and you're doing 5 picks a week, like
Mhm.
where, like guys that get men and women that are winning these contests are cashing in, or is it just luck? Is it a system? Like, what do you think where it is?
you got to get the coin flips to fall your way more often than not. And you see the NFL games, like a lot of them at the end are literally a tip ball from being decided the other way, a 4th down conversion, a flag. If you get 7 out of those 10 coin flip games to go your way, then you win. I mean, you got to have a decent opinion, but you got to pick it literally 60% to get in the conversation, to get in the money. But what you can do, in the Westgate contest, they do 6 3-week sprints and 3 6-week sprints. So like we went 13-2 last year, and 13-1-1 got $50,000.
Oh, that's great.
So we
Off of 1,000.
yeah, $1,000 entry. So that was every 3 weeks. If you get hot you go 14-1, which is 4-1, 4-1, 5-0. Now, boom, that's 13-2. You're at least in the conversation, and you can push, and that's a half a point. But it's so much fun, and it keeps you involved in the NFL season without being overly involved. You see the standings every week. It's an excuse to, email me or text me, and I'll make sure your picks are in. And, I'm telling people that are, we're talking. If you come out, Moose, or obviously if you come out, Keith, I mean, I will personally pick you up at the airport and drive you to the place. I'll put your bags in the car. You'll get the whole service. You know what I'm saying? We'll sign up for the contest, and then we'll go to lunch at one of my favorite places, and I'll pick up the check. Not everybody gets that, okay? But I think it's a fun way for me to meet. I mean, we signed up a guy the other day. He's this, doctor in LA. Turns out he knows Al Williams, who knows Matt Deutsch, who knows us, who knows all these things. And I said, "Are you kidding me? What a small world!"
That's
said,
a small
this
world.
is amazing. So it was an unbelievable thing. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun in a way for us to kind of grow the audience of the show.
Yeah.
Expand the network a little bit. And
besides the one social hit that I saw, how are you promoting it?
We're doing a couple other things, I think, this week. We're doing shows. I don't know if the website's open yet or on. I don't understand all the things that the kids talk about, the social gurus and all this other stuff.
So, all right. So let's say I'm going to put Moose in this.
Yeah.
Moose flies out. You do all that stuff. Yeah. He signs up at Circa. Yeah. All right. Season comes around next year.
Uh-huh.
Literally, it's every Friday. He just sends you a text or emails you, "These are my 5 plays." Mm-hmm. And then you go to the book. You put it in.
Yeah, put it in, and I'll send you. You're able to log in. I'll show you how to download the app. You can log in. You just can't do anything because it geolocates you.
Yeah, you're out of it.
So you're able to see all the standings. You're able to see your picks after the deadline's in. You'll see what you're in. Then you can see all the other stuff that comes with that. The weekly standings, the quarterly standings.
That's awesome.
The annual standings. It does all of that for you. And it's all available on the website. We're going to talk about it on Bostonian versus the book. We're going to do all of that. So it's just a great way to stay dialed in to the season, participate in a contest that you normally wouldn't be able to, and have a shot at a gigantic amount of money. I personally like the phone calls every week. The conference call. Can you imagine us sitting here going, "All right, let's look at the week 1 card. Who do you like? Why do you like that? Whoa, what do you think about that? I didn't even see that one coming." You each get a game that you don't really put up a defense for. And then you got to, like, if it's 3 of us, we got to come to a consensus with 2 more games. I mean, imagine us going to lunch at your favorite coffee place or, lunch place and sitting down for an hour going over this, that, whatever. It's an absolute blast. It's a fun way to participate in football season.
I love that. I don't know if I'll be able to get. I'd love to do. I don't know if I can get out to Vegas, but we got to
do a same day service. If you come out in the morning, fly out, bring a dime, 2 dimes, whatever it is you want to sign up for, we'll get you signed up. We'll get you a meal, and I'll get you back in time for the afternoon flight out. We'll be in, zip, zip, zip out. Nice meal together, big bro hug, sit down, spend some time together. You'll miss one day. You'll tell Donna,
all right,
tell Lisa, Lou, listen, I'll be back home. Jody, don't worry about it. The kids are fine. One day.
I got a thing with Dave in Vegas. I got a thing. I got to go see Sharapan in Vegas.
Listen,
we got to do
Donna
this.
Call me. I'll talk to her myself.
I know. We got to do this.
I think it's got to be done. So
it's got to be done.
Ideally, there's a big golf weekend that they're doing. Each place does a football weekend that we're going to be a part of.
Dave, when's the Formula One in Vegas?
Oh, November, mid-November.
Oh, mid-November.
Mid-November.
That's going to be.
You should see the construction for that.
Where is that going to be?
Right down the strip. The strip is one lane. They're going down the strip and they're coming back around Paradise. All my little side streets are right now. They're closed. They're one lane. They're this. They're that. I'm a pretty good driver, and I've been going around the strip for 20 years. So I know to zipping in and out. It's a mess right now. I feel like I'm in New York City traffic. I was back there that time 2 years ago. I sat on that George Washington Bridge and wondered what I did wrong in my life. I said, where are we going? And why is nobody moving? And why am I on this bridge? And nothing kept happening. And then it started pouring. And my kid said, Daddy, breathe. And I said, I got to get off of this bridge. I got to get out of here. I don't know what to do.
I fight that every day. Keith understands. It's a disaster.
I don't know how you guys do that.
There's nothing worse than when you pass by construction and you see the guys and they're doing nothing.
It's the best, isn't it? You know they're
It's
probably
just
busy on the phone.
Yeah, they're just like they're playing on their phone. They're having a cup of coffee. They're
You're
eating
probably
breakfast.
listening to shows like this.
Yeah, they're shut. It's you
I
have to
hope.
understand like what they're doing in the Major Deegan right around Yankee Stadium. It's like they're testing bombs.
Speaking of bombs, the Yankees are rolling, boys. They're 39-30. How did
I
that
know.
happen?
They're
The
39.
Yankees are back.
We have about like 2 minutes left
Yes.
here, Dave. What happened? How did you cash out with Stanley?
I'm going today to pick it up. I'm just gonna go cash that one ticket out. I'm gonna give the kids each a C note. I don't know what I'm gonna give Jessica and say, all right, enjoy, and then put the rest back in the pocket and try to figure out what we're doing for Father's Day, boys. I
Good
wanted
for
to
you.
wish you both a happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's
Happy
Day.
Father's Day to
Did
you,
you play anything individually, or you just let that ticket ride?
No. I had multiple tickets. I
Oh,
mean, you
gotcha.
saw the
Okay.
numbers.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
probably
it's-
made I think I made 8 total on the
Oh,
whole,
that's great.
the whole
Good for
deal.
you.
So I made, but I don't know. I don't know what we're doing with it. Might
Well,
be a
Dave,
trip
listen,
planned for the weekend.
we love you. We're flat out of time.
You guys are the best.
Yeah.
We're rolling out.
Roll it out.
Proxy service.
Good job,
Sharapan,
Ernie.
happy Father's Day.
You too,
Yes.
boys. All of you.
Happy Father's
Keith,
Day.
Everyone
happy
is-
Father's
All
Day.
right. You too. You too.
Are you all right,
Yes.
Keith?
I'm great.
You look great on NHL.
was watching.
Have a great
Network, by the
weekend.
way,
See you
today.
Tuesday, everybody.
Oh, I got all the energy in the world.
Wake up.